What is up guys, MKBHD here, and this is the iMac Pro. We were waiting for this. Well, okay, maybe not this specifically, but we were waiting for a new Apple Pro desktop. We being creative professionals that use, Final Cut Pro and Motion, or just generally Mac OS X, stuff like that. But we finally got it. So this is the iMac Pro in the flesh. It's probably looking pretty familiar to anyone who's seen any iMac before, because on the outside, it's almost identical to any other 27-inch 5K iMac. If you paint everything dark gray, or space gray, that used to be silver, plus a couple extra microphones, an improved front-facing camera, some slightly improved speakers, some minor stuff like that, but generally the main stuff, the design, the stand, the display, the bezels, it's all the same. But what makes this iMac Pro an iMac Pro is all on the inside. So I've had this thing here for about a week now, which has been really exciting. Obviously, it's been hard to not talk about it and not show it at all in the background of Instagram Lives and stuff like that, but it's been here, been editing videos on it, working with the new Final Cut Pro. This video you're watching this on is edited on the iMac Pro, and it's replaced the Mac Pro that's been sitting on my desk since 2013. And we needed that upgrade. And I did say that before their new modular full desktop Mac Pro comes out sometime in 2018, that I would give iMac Pro a chance. So shout out to Apple for actually getting one here to the studio. And so this has been my experience so far. So this is a 10-core iMac Pro with 128 gigs of RAM, the 16 gig Vega GPU, and there's a bunch of new specs, as you probably know, this being somewhere in the sweet spot, I guess, between number of cores versus clock speed. But here are all the available specs. The 8-core and 10-core are available early, but if you're going to go for the 14 or 18-core, you'll be waiting till early next year for it to ship. And it's all these Intel Xeon W chips and AMD Vega GPUs, so all this new workstation-grade hardware like we were expecting. So with all that new workstation-grade hardware replacing the typical consumer parts, you kind of have to redesign the entire inside of the iMac Pro, which they did. But you'll never see it because they don't let you get inside. There is the bigger ventilation slots on the back of the iMac Pro, but the door to get inside and upgrade any RAM even is gone. It's a completely sealed, non-upgradable machine from the spec you buy on day one. So really, the main way you'd know it's an iMac Pro, other than the new Space Gray, is the performance. In theory, that's why people are going to be buying iMac Pro over a regular iMac, because it offers that workstation-grade hardware, that finally upgraded inside, that can handle, like if you're someone like me who's pushing a lot of big raw frames, if you're in Final Cut Pro, if you do motion graphics, if you're pushing a lot of data around, if you're doing a lot of rendering, this will all be faster on a machine like this that can actually handle it. And iMac Pro is indeed faster than a regular iMac. It shows up in synthetic benchmarks, which you'd expect given the newer hardware. And it also shows up in real-world performance. Differences in render times like this over the long term add up to a lot of saved time, which is great where it matters. And workstation parts, in case you didn't know, make a big difference, seriously. Besides just, obviously, the Intel Xeon W chips, 128 gigs of DDR4 RAM, that's absolutely ridiculous for a normal person, but you already know Premiere and After Effects and Final Cut Pro will eat that right up. It has a PCI SSD that's getting me 3,000 megabytes per second read and write speeds, which is nuts. Obviously, the massive CPU cores, there's hyper-threading, 16 gigs of video RAM on the graphics card. It's clearly a super capable machine. With the ports on the back, you're getting 4 full-size USB 3 ports and then 4 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports, which are good to see, along with, of course, your SD card slot, your gigabit Ethernet port, headphone jack, stuff like that. The funny thing is, I think it's really easy to just hate on the new iMac Pro because it's very expensive and then also not upgradable at all. What kind of Pro machine isn't upgradable? And that's definitely its biggest weakness for sure. But for the hardware inside and the actual specs you're getting, it's actually a fairly priced machine. I priced out a roughly equivalent PC. Obviously, a lot of these parts are brand new, so you can't do it one for one, but it came out to around $5,100, and that's not accounting for the fact that this is all in one. It's a beautiful 5K display, stealth black. Obviously, it's not a Mac. And you would build a PC for different reasons than you would buy an iMac Pro, but I actually don't think the price is that insane. So this guy has a lot of things going for it that professionals value. It just sits on your desk perfectly quietly, doesn't make any noise. Through the days I've had it, I like that about it. It stays pretty cool too. Stuffing all these workstation parts into such a small space has to be a thermal nightmare. And of course, the Final Cut Pro workflow that I have isn't as taxing to the limits as someone using, say, After Effects or Motion. But even still, I'm pushing around these big 8K RAW frames, and I'm able to play back high-resolution previews on the timeline smoothly in Final Cut Pro without dropping that many frames, if any at all, with plugins and color correction applied. So this stuff that would normally choke my Mac Pro is seeing an improvement right off the bat. I like the all black accessories, the black keyboard, the gray trackpad, even the black lightning cable that comes with it. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else before, so that's pretty cool. But long story short, I really like it so far. It feels like the ideal high-end YouTuber Final Cut Pro machine. The main question will be, is it worth the extra money? Because it's clearly much more expensive than a normal iMac. And there are other things to consider, like will the thermal situation hold up over time? Will it stay cool? Will the 18-core version be that much better than the 8 or 10-core version for certain applications? You know, these are all big questions. It's gonna take a couple more projects and some time of really putting it through its paces for a full review, but honestly, so far, I'm not mad at all. Also, for those who I know are wondering, my iMac Pro here is sitting on top of a 12 South High-Rise Pro. Also just got announced today. It's also the Stealth Black, so it's pretty sweet, kind of goes with it. I'll link it below. And just generally, I think I can finally do another new setup tour, or like a desk tour. Maybe thumbs up if you're interested in that. This has been on my desk for so long that my setup never really changed for like the last 5 years, but it's now finally very different. Also, shout out to John, who is also dropping his iMac Pro setup tour, this all black sweet setup tour video today. I'll link that below, so if you want to see a finished iMac Pro setup, that's there. But yeah, thinking about doing mine pretty soon in video form as I keep using this. But that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.